Critical thinking skills for real estate. In this final video, I'm going to be talking about just some general concepts, critical thinking skills for staying safe in real estate, and things that I have found over the years of teaching that a lot of times people are not really thinking about. So these are just kind of a lot of concepts that didn't really fit into any of the other videos, and I decided to kind of make this separate video for them here. So critical thinking. So what I'm talking about here is always staying slightly cautious, slightly paranoid, staying objective about your deals and your underwriting and not pencil whipping your deals, right? Pencil whipping's an old term that we used to have for making a deal look really good on paper, but it's a lot more difficult to actually make that deal happen in reality, right? So kind of faking a deal or just kind of moving numbers around on a piece of paper, we call that pencil whipping. So don't pencil whip your deal. Just thinking in ways of what could go wrong, always kind of looking at the negative aspect of things and kind of making sure that you have a plan for that. So thinking about the downside and thinking about the things that could go wrong and thinking about the negativity of business is not negative, okay? So don't think that having critical thought process makes you a critical person. It does not, right? So please do not misunderstand anything I'm going to tell you in here as negativity, right? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not actually out to try and get you, right? They might really be. And I have stayed safe, and I have made a lot of mistakes, and I've made a lot of money in real estate. And so the reason I am still here 16 years later at this point in time is because of some of the things that I'm going to show you right now. So one of the first things that I was taught in business, this was by one of my very first mentors, and he said, cover the downside. The upside takes care of itself, right? That's a huge comment. So that's kind of what I want to lead off with, is always be thinking about what could go wrong. Always be thinking about the way out. If this fails, if this happens, what could go wrong, and have a contingency plan for that, right? That's huge when we're analyzing deals and we're doing deal analysis. As I said before, in the analysis section, the exit strategy is the first part of your analysis. So as soon as we sit down and think, what are we gonna, is this a good deal? The first thought we need to have is, well, I don't know, what are we gonna do with it? What's the exit, right? Well, the exit is figuring out what could go wrong. What if we do this exit, but it doesn't work? What if we want to refinance, but the rates go up? What if? And then having a contingency plan for that, that's a risk assessment. And that's a very good and positive thing to do. It's very positive to think negatively about your deals and about business, because that's how we stay safe, right? If real estate were that easy, you wouldn't be watching this video. I'm not here to teach you how to buy real estate. I'm here to teach you how not to buy real estate, right? I'm here to teach you how to stay safe, because buying real estate's easy. Nobody takes a course to learn how to buy real estate. That's super simple. You go get a realtor, there's a property, make an offer, go to closing, write a check. Bada bing, right? Nobody comes to a program to learn how to buy real estate. You actually came here to learn how to not buy real estate, to not buy bad deals, okay? And so to not buy bad deals, we have to maintain that critical aspect of our thinking. But let me go back a second. So always cover the downside. The upside takes care of itself, right? So always have a plan for what could go wrong, because things going right, we don't need a plan for that. That's easy, right? Most people kind of analyze deals and they think about real estate only in the possibility of what could go right. They think about all the money they're going to make. They think about the success they're going to have. They think about the new car, the new house, and all these kinds of things. But they don't think about losing money. They don't think about what if this goes wrong? What if the market turns down? And they just always believe everything's going to be good. And that is gambling, okay? If you are not thinking critically, you are gambling. And let me tell you, gambling doesn't work. Why? Because it pans out to about a 50-50 ratio. All right, gambling. If I flip a coin in the air and I flip that coin enough times, it's going to land on heads about as many times as it lands on tails, right? That's true gambling. That pans out to about 50-50. And if you're not thinking critically and you're not covering the downside, then all you're doing is just gambling. And you're going to make money and then lose money, and make money and lose it, and make it and lose it. And you're going to wind up with pretty much nothing at the end of the day, right? Please do not misunderstand places like Vegas or casinos and things like that as proper gambling. That is not proper gambling because the casino has slightly shifted the odds in their favor, just a little bit. And they know that little bit of shift in their favor over time makes them successful and everybody else in there to pay the casino, right? And that's why casinos are still there. They're not there because they were built on a bunch of winners, okay? Casinos were built on a whole bunch of losers, and we do not want to gamble. If you want to gamble, go to the casino. Don't do it in business. Critical thinking will help you not gamble. So always think about the downside, think about what can go wrong, and create a solution for that, even if it doesn't actually occur. All right, so let's talk about that, kind of covering downside, things of that nature. So one of my first concepts, this is what I was gonna say a second ago, all deals are bad until proven good. Okay, that's the first mindset I want you to have when you go out and you start analyzing deals. This deal sucks, and I know it sucks, and I'm here to prove that it sucks. And if I can't prove it, then it's a good deal. So I go into deal analysis trying to tear the deal down, trying to poke holes in it, trying to prove that this deal is not a good deal. And if I cannot prove that, then by default, I have a good deal. See, the opposite mindset is people going in and thinking that every time they come across a listing, a realtor sends them a deal, anything like that, it's a good deal. And if they just sit here and stare at it long enough and move these numbers around long enough, eventually that deal is just gonna pop out and it's gonna be obvious that this is a good deal. And that's how you pencil whip a deal, right there. Is assuming that all deals are good, you just gotta play with it long enough to make it show up. That is not true. Do not think like that. All deals are bad deals until you prove them to be good deals. That's how you stay safe and that's how you stay critical in your thinking. All right, so that's why I kind of went through the deal analysis and I show you the short version. You know, start off with your rent roll, then move to the T12, kind of read that data, do a quick analysis. You know, do these kinds of things because that's a way that you can save your time. Again, if we believe that all deals are bad, we want to get to the no as fast as possible, right? So that's number one. See, number two here we got why didn't the seller think of it? One of my favorite questions. You know, oh, the rents are below market and you can raise the rents and you can do this and you can do that and you can do all these wonderful things to the property. Gee, why didn't the seller think of that? Oh, I know. The seller hates money. That's why the seller didn't raise the rents. That's why the seller didn't renovate the units. That's why the seller didn't do fill in the blank, right? Maybe not, okay? So stop and think, why didn't the seller think of it? If this is such a good idea, why is the seller selling me the property and why am I the genius here and that individual is stupid and I'm gonna come in and make a ton of money where they didn't, okay? Now, sometimes there is actually a really good answer and the seller honestly didn't think of it or the seller wasn't capable of fixing the property. The seller didn't have the money to fix the property. The seller was out of state, out of sight, out of mind. The seller was not managing the management company, and the management company didn't do a great job. There are real and logical reasons why we see things like value add and why we see places where the rent may be below market. And those are good deals, but you have to understand they're not the majority of the deals out there. And so all I want you to do is whenever a realtor or someone comes at you with some kind of high-flying sales pitch as to why this deal is the best deal since sliced bread, just stop and ask yourself, why didn't the seller think of it? If you can come up with a good reason or a good answer, good. That's probably a good deal. If you can't come up with any real solid answer, be careful. You might be getting sold a bill of goods there. That might be more of a sales pitch than value add. So be very careful about that. Why didn't the seller think of it? And I can go ahead and tell you now, it's not because the seller hated money. All right, so cover the downside. We talked about that. Always kind of have a contingency plan. Always think about what could go wrong. Always be thinking about the exit strategy. That's another way of covering the downside, is to create the exit strategy for a deal as we're analyzing a deal, and to always know what it is we want and to know what it is we're going to do with the deal. How do you know when you're successful if you never set a goal for success? You know, how do you know when you got to the top if you never set the top, right? So that's why I kind of say really want to sell with a calculator, not a calendar, okay? What do I mean by that? When you go in, you analyze a deal, and you look at a property, you want to figure out what do you want from this property? What level of return? What returns are you trying to get your investors? What kind of returns are you trying to get for yourself? What should this deal do? And when it does it, walk away. Stop gambling. If you keep pushing it and you push it further, just a little bit more, we can get just a little more price, just a little more rent, just a little more time in the market, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it just by one and you're gonna lose, right? Know when you're gambling and know when to walk away. And the way we do that is by setting the parameters for our deal, to know what kind of returns we wanna get, to know what success is. When this deal does X, Y, and Z, we will consider this successful. Great, when the property does that, sell, close, exit, refi, do whatever it is and go on, right? Don't keep gambling. And that's why I say that's so important, looking at the exit strategy. What do we want? Because if we don't know what we want, we don't know what the deal is supposed to do, we're not gonna know when the deal actually does it, are we? And then we're just gonna keep chasing dollars, we're gonna keep gambling, you're gonna miss the market, and you're gonna probably lose, always trying to maximize. So be careful with that, know when to walk away. All right, stress test all ideas and deals. We talked about this, how to, in the last video, how to reverse analyze a deal. We start with the exit strategy in mind, right? And we say, okay, what if our exit strategy is gonna be a refinance? Okay, we talked about that. You gotta stress test that deal. Know that we gotta get the value up to a certain level. Know that the net operating income has to be at a certain level. We're gonna have to have that 1.25 debt service ratio. So it's coming up, it's covering the downside, coming up with exit strategies, and then stress testing your exit strategies and these things for validity, right? Make sure that all of these things work. We talked a lot about this in deal analysis in some of the other videos, so you can go back and review that. But it's really about stress testing all those exits. And that's also a really good tip or a really good strategy when you're out trying to raise money. If you've really stress tested your deals and you really know what will make that deal fail, like let's say occupancy level or break-even ratio, if you know what level of occupancy that if you fall to, you hit a 1.0 debt service ratio. Remember, that would be $1 of net operating income equals $1 of debt, no cash flow, right? So what level of occupancy do you, if you get to, are you at that break even? That's called break-even ratio. You wanna know that. You wanna know at what level of revenue, at what level of occupancy would you be in default for your loan? You know, at what level of occupancy are you making your cash flow returns? You want to stress test the positive and the negative sides of your deal. And this is a really good idea when you're trying to raise money because your investors are going to ask. They're going to take a look at your prospectus, your offering memorandum, and they're going to say, okay, great, I see that we're going to make all this money up here and that's wonderful. Tell me about this. Tell me about what happens here. Tell me about if occupancy goes here. At what level are we going to have an issue? And if you don't have that information readily available in your mind, you're going to lose credibility. Sometimes these are uncomfortable conversations. Somebody asking you, hey, how do I lose my money? How am I going to get hurt? If I invest in your deal, what could go wrong? How could I lose everything? You need to be prepared for that conversation, right? You need to be honest and you need to be able to tell that investor how they could lose their money if they invest. And then you need to tell them how you've thought of those things and what plans you have for each one of those events. That's how you build confidence, especially when you're new to business, and build confidence with your investors and people that want to do business with you. Know what you're talking about. All right, and then don't co-sign your own bullshit, right? Always have someone else look at your deals. Always have a mentor, a coach, someone else take a look at your work, have someone check over it, and have someone play the devil's advocate with you, right? That's a very, very important role that people on your team can play. You always want to kind of almost designate someone to be the naysayer of the group. That's usually me, as a matter of fact. But you always want to have someone who just picks everything apart, who says, let me look at this from a negative point of view and let me see if I can just come up with anything that could go wrong. That is positive, okay? It may not be comfortable, but it is positive, and it's very important that you do that. So never co-sign your own BS and always have someone else out there, second set of eyes, second set of mind, looking at your deal, looking at your math, and head checking yourself so that you're not just out there always spinning off into the atmosphere, thinking about all the great things that could occur and all the money you're gonna make and all the vacation homes and all this kind of stuff you're gonna have. Always have someone keeping you grounded, keeping your mind on the deal and making sure that we are looking at the downside and that we are thinking safely. This is ever so important if you plan on using other people's money, you plan on using investors, and you plan on building a reputation in the business as a syndicator and solving problems and creating capital for other people. You're going to really want to kind of be careful be a good fiduciary and take good responsibility with other people's money, and they will always be there to give it to you so that you can be successful and that they can be successful along with you. So thanks for joining us. This has been Real Estate Raw, Critical Thinking. See you next time.